Hi students, welcome to APRJC Intermediate Online Classes. This is Dr. M. Channakeshavalu, JL Botany, working at APRJC, Garampalli, Chittoor district. Today I want to discuss about secondary botany, first chapter, transport in plants. In secondary botany we have 6 units in the syllabus. The first unit is the plant physiology, second unit is microbiology, third unit is genetics, fourth unit is molecular biology, fifth one is biotechnology, and sixth unit is the plants, microbes and human welfare. So among these, the first unit is the plant physiology. So what do you know about plant physiology? So plant physiology you have studied in first year syllabus also. So in the science of botany you have studied various branches of botany. What do you know about plant physiology? So plant physiology is defined as study of plant metabolic activities. So like there are several metabolic activities occurring in the plant body like photosynthesis, respiration, nitrogen metabolism and transport in plants. So different activities, process occurring in the plant can be studied in this unit. And also you can also study the enzymes and also the growth and development of plant body. So that is the phytohormones. So all these chapters can be studied under the unit plant physiology. So the first chapter is transport in the plants. In the first chapter, there are several topics you can be studied. First one is diffusion. Second one is facilitated diffusion. Please write down the important topics and concepts in this chapter. Number 3, active transport. Number 4, water potential. Number 5, osmosis. Number 6, plasmolysis. Number 7, imbibition. Number 8, long distance transport of water. Number 9, water movement of a plant, that is ascent of sap. Number 10, transpiration. And number 11, opening and closing of stomata. Number 12, uptake and transport of mineral nutrients. And the last one is 13th, phloem transport. That is flow from source to sink. So in the first chapter, so we have to study the different types of transport mechanisms. So the plants can be studied under two headings. One is organism level and the cellular level. So the plant structure and characters can be studied with the help of ecology and phytogeography. Please write down the ecology and phytogeography. So ecology is the study of plants in relation to environment. So the plant characters, the plant salient features. Plants grow in different habitats like soil, water, hills, rocks, acidic soils. So different habitats generally prefer to like the growing of plants. Hence we can study the study of plants in relation to environment. And phytogeography. So study of plant distribution on the soil is called as a phytogeography. Are you remember? So plants can also study at a cellular level, that is study with the help of plant physiology and plant biochemistry. So as I already given definition of plant physiology, study of plant metabolic activities is called as plant physiology. And biochemistry, we can study the different types of chemicals present inside the plant cells with the help of or with the knowledge of biochemistry. So the plants can be studied under two headings, namely organism level and the cellular level. So generally the plants are treated by earlier man. Up to 19th century, plants are generally non-living things. So generally man think that only animals can show movement, so that is why animals have life. But in 19th century, J.C. Bose is an Indian botanist. So he was born in West Bengal family on 30th November 1858. So basically he was a physics scientist, and he was the first Indian scientist who became a Royal Society, a group of scientists in the world. So J.C. Bose he was the first person who considered the plants as living organisms. He discovered the coherer instrument. So this is the coherer instrument. So it is useful to identify the radio waves. Bose also discovered the crescograph. So it is used to measure the growth of the plant body. So generally the growth of plant body is invisible. We cannot see that. So if we can estimate and calculate the growth of the plant body, minute growth of the plant body for every day with the help of crescograph. So this is the crescograph. It is an arc and a pointer needle and a pulley and a weight and a thread. So this crescograph is attached to the tip of the potted plant with the help of the thread. So whenever the plant grows every day, so whenever the tip grows, plant tip grows in a millimeter or centimeter, so automatically the weight can be hang down. So automatically the pointer generally falls down on the arc. So this arc has a scale, measuring scale. So in the millimeters. So it is whenever it hangs down for how many millimeters or centimeters. So we can easily measure the growth of the plant body. So the fastest growth of the plant in the plant kingdom is Bambusa arundinaceae, veduru. So bamboo shows maximum growth or fastest growth in different types of plants. So J.C. Bose also, he was established in a research institute at Kolkata, that is called as a Bose Research Institute. He was also author of two books, namely Researches on Irritability of Plants and Nervous Mechanism in Plants. Please write down the books. So Bose wrote two books. One is Researches on Irritability of Plants and second one is Nervous Mechanism in Plants. So he proposed pulsation theory. According to this theory, so plants have life. Plants have a life. So and also he observed that he used a electric probe and a galvanometer. With the help of electric probe insert into the cortical cells of a stem of a powder plant and arranged the galvanometer and observed the oscillations of needle in the galvanometer. He proved that the cortical cells present in the stem showing a rhythmic pulsation, rhythmic movements like heart in the animal body, it shows contraction and expansion. So like that the cortical cells of the plant body shows rhythmic movements. Hence he proved that plants have life. Due to the rhythmic movements shown by the plant cortical cells, hence the needle in the galvanometer shows oscillations. Hence he proved that by plant shows life by the pulsation theory. Okay. So in this chapter today I want to discuss about topics like diffusion, facilitated diffusion, active transport and water potential. So these are the different types of means of transport or different types of transport. So what do you know about transport? So movement of substance or organism from one place to other place with the help of vehicles. So man needs for movement for the transport to other places, he used cycles or motor cycles or cars, bus. If you go to other countries also, we can use the helicopter. So like animals shows movement from one place to other place. So they have locomotor organisms. Animals needs water and food materials for their growth. Like animals, plants also needs water, minerals and gases for their growth and development. In the human body or animal body, so there is a circulatory system to circulate the blood or different animal needs inside the body. But plants do not have any circulatory system, they have no the heart. They do not possess heart, they do not possess a circulatory system. But even though the plants needs water and minerals and light and carbon dioxide. So with the help of the root system, so it absorbs water. So the water absorbed by the roots transported to the different parts of the plant body like stems, leaves, flowers and fruits. So the plant leaves also prepares food materials. That food is also transported to the different parts of a plant body like root, flowers, fruits and seeds. But how this water, food materials and minerals are transported? So inside the plant body there is a conductive tissues, mainly xylem and phloem. They are useful for the transport of different types of substances inside the plant body. So xylem tissue useful for the transport of water, whereas phloem tissue useful to transport of food materials or sugars. The transport of water and minerals is unidirectional. Please note down. The transport of water and minerals is the unidirectional because so the water absorbed by the root system is ascending to the stem, leaves, flowers and fruits. So that is why it is a single direction. But whereas organic food materials and nutrients present in the leaves, the food materials are synthesized in the leaves can be transported to the root, branches, flowers, fruits and seeds. Hence it is a multi-directional transport. Okay. The transport of water and minerals is the unidirectional. The transport of food materials and mineral nutrients is the multi-directional. So the first concept is the diffusion. So diffusion is a phenomena in which the movement of molecules from the region of high to low concentration. So movement of molecules from the region of high concentration to low concentration. So if you add the copper sulfate crystals to the conical flask containing water, so this the copper sulfate crystals are dissolved in the conical flask and diffused throughout the solution till the equilibrium is reached. So the copper sulfate is diffused throughout the water present in the conical flask. So diffusion occurs in the solids, liquids as well as in gases. In solids, attractive forces are more between the atoms or molecules. So molecules vibrate but not move around. So the movement of molecules cannot be seen in the solid materials, but they can vibrate. The molecules are vibrate in the solids, but in liquids generally the molecules can move around the greater freedom. So if you see this diagram, if you add any dye molecules to the beaker containing water, so the dye is gradually distributed throughout the water. Or if you add potassium permanganate crystals, so the potassium permanganate crystals also dissolved in the water and diffused throughout the system or water till the equilibrium is reached. So in gases, the intermolecular attraction is negligible or very minimum. So the molecules diffuse fast and fast. So the rate of diffusion is more in gases when compared to the liquids. So the rate of transport is more in liquids and compared to the solids. So among the solids, liquids and gases, so the rate of diffusion is more and more in gases. So in gases, the gas molecules are generally diffused, so till the equilibrium is reached. So if you open the scent bottle in a closed room, so the perfume coming out from the bottle is diffused throughout the room till the equilibrium is reached. So the important examples of diffusion in the plant body, exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide between plant and atmosphere. So if you see this diagram, so plants leaves or green parts of the plant body prepares food materials by the process of photosynthesis. So it absorbs carbon dioxide and loses oxygen. So this life gas is released in the photosynthesis. So carbohydrates are synthesized in the process of photosynthesis. So whereas in respiration, so generally oxygen is absorbed and CO2 is released. Oxygen is absorbed, CO2 is released. So in respiration and photosynthesis, so the gas transport takes place. Oxygen and carbon dioxide transport takes place through the stomata. So the second example is the absorption of soil mineral ions by roots. So the root system absorbs the soil water. So that is also an example of diffusion. Transpiration through stomata and lens cells. So you know that the plant loses water. So during daytime, so the plant loses water in the form of vapor. It's called a transpiration. So the transpiration occurs through the stomata present in leaves and young stems, and also through the lenticels. So lenticels are the pores present in the secondary growing stems. So the movement of substances within the cell and between the cells. So the substance can be moved within the cell throughout the cytoplasm and from one cell to the other cell also. And also flower fragrance are scent. You know that some plants are very beautiful, to attract the insects, beautiful flowers, and some plants flowers only white in color, but they give good fragrance, they emit odor. For example, Tazris patula, so it gives a good odor, and they attract the insects, butterflies for pollination. If you observe the Jasmine sambac, it produces white flowers, it is a good odor. And Michaela champaka, they give a good fragrance. So these are the different types of examples of diffusion. Next one is facilitated diffusion. So movement of molecules or solids from one cell to the other cell through the special proteins are called as facilitated diffusion. Such special proteins are present in the cell membrane. Such special proteins are called as porins. Please write down the definition. Movement of molecules or solid from one cell to the other cell through the special proteins called porins. This is named as facilitated diffusion. So this diffusion is facilitated by the porins. Porins are nothing but carriers present in the cell membrane. So this is the structure of cell membrane. So cell membrane is made up of lipids and proteins. Hence these polar substances cannot pass through the cell membrane due to the presence of lipids. Hence these porins are act as channels of polar molecules from outer surface to the inner surface of the cell. So facilitated diffusion is a slow process and depends on solubility in lipids. So because in the plant body and plant cells, the polar substances are hydrophilic substances, water loving substances. Examples are sugars and amino acids. They are water loving substances, so they can dissolve in the water. So if they want to pass from one cell to other cell through the cell membrane or within the cell, so due to the polar nature, these molecules cannot pass through the cell membrane. So the cell membrane cannot allows the movement of polar substances in this side. So that is why, so to transport these polar substances into the cell membrane here and there possess a special protein molecule called as porins. This is the protein channels. So these proteins are carriers, holds the polar substances and transport into the cell. So that is why these are called as carriers. So these carriers are very useful for the transport of hydrophilic substances. So it is a type of diffusion, but the diffusion occurs through the special protein molecules present in the cell membrane. So the diffusion and facilitated diffusion are nothing but passive transport. So in this passive transport, there is no use of metabolic energy. So there is no use of ATP. Advanced triphosphate is not used, energy content is not used in the transport of molecules in diffusion and facilitated diffusion. So in facilitated diffusion, please remember there are carriers or special proteins present in the cell membrane called as porins. So these porins are nothing but carriers. So these carriers or special proteins are of three types: uniporters, symporters and antiporters. So uniporters are the molecules or carriers. So the movement of molecule independent of other molecule. In this only one molecule moves from outer side to the inner side of the cell. So the transport is called a uniport. Symport. So movement of two molecules takes place in the same direction. From outer side to the inner side, two molecules enter into the cell. and phenomenon is called as a symport, and such proteins are called as symporters. Antiport. So movement of two molecules in the opposite direction is called as a antiport. So one molecule enter into the cell and one molecule exit from the cell. That is called a antiport. Active transport. So inside the cell there is a ATP is stored. It is evolved in produced in respiration process, adenosine triphosphate. With the help of ATPase enzyme, so this ATP is hydrolyzed and releases energy. Such energy is used in the transport of substances from one cell to the other cell through the cell membrane. So that type of transport by using energy ATP is called as active transport. It is also called as uphill transport. Active transport is also called as uphill transport. So the transport of molecules from low to high concentration. If you see the diagrams, so in a passive transport, so in uniport, the substance moves from outside to the inner side. Only one molecule is transported to the other side. It is independent of other molecule. In symport, two molecules S1, substance 1 and substance 2, these two substances are transported from outside to the inner side of the cell. That is a symport. In antiport, so S1 molecule enter into the cell and S2 molecule exit from the cell. That is called as antiport. So one molecule coming inside and one molecule coming outside. So that is called as antiport. So this symport and antiport together called as co-transport. So this passive and active transport can also explained by this diagram. So in passive transport, nothing but it contains two process, diffusion and facilitated diffusion. So in diffusion, so the movement of molecules or ions transport from higher concentration to the low concentration. So in facilitated diffusion, the movement of molecules takes place through the carrier proteins called as porins. So, but in these two processes, there is no use of metabolic energy or ATP. Hence it is named as a passive transport. Please remember, in passive transport, no utilization of energy. So whereas in active transport, so the molecules transported from one side to the other side by utilizing ATP, by utilizing metabolic energy. So it is also nothing but called as a uphill transport. So we can pump the water from well to the other side or a hill region also. So we can transport anywhere whatever we want. So the water can be transported by using electric motors. So it is nothing but uphill transport. So in the plant body, so the movement of molecules takes place by using ATP. So the transport is called as active transport. So comparison of different types of transport mechanisms. You know, we have studied the simple diffusion, facilitated diffusion and active transport. So the simple diffusion cannot require any special membranes, but facilitated diffusion requires a special membrane, that is the cell membrane. So active transport also requires the special membrane called as a cell membrane. Simple diffusion is not highly selective. Facilitated diffusion is highly selective. So active transport is also highly selective. So the simple diffusion transport does not saturate. In facilitated diffusion, transport saturates. In active transport saturates. In simple diffusion, uphill transport does not take place because movement of molecules from high to low concentration only without energy. In facilitated diffusion also, the uphill transport does not take place. No energy is needed to transport the molecules. But in active transport, energy is needed, hence uphill transport occurs in active transport. Both are same. So in simple diffusion, so the ATP is not utilized, and also in facilitated diffusion, ATP is not utilized. But in active transport, by use of ATP only, the ions or molecules or atoms transported from one cell to the other cell. Please remember this table so you can get the important assertion reasons and corrected statements and wrong statements in the NEET questions also. In earlier NEET questions, so several questions asked from this table. So I understand diffusion and facilitated diffusion and active transport. So next, plant water relations. So you know that plants absorb water with the help of their root system. So the water present inside the roots enter into the stems, leaves, flowers and fruits in ascending manner. That is the unidirectional flow of water molecules. So the water generally quantity more in herbaceous plants, soft stemmed plants, and less in woody plants as well as in trees. But the plant pots like seeds, dry seeds have very little amount of water. So which part shows a very little amount of water? Plant seeds possess a very little amount of water. A maize plant, corn, generally absorbs 3 liters of water per day. Next important topic is water potential. The difference between the chemical potential of pure water to that of solution is called as a water potential. Please write down the definition. The difference between the chemical potential of pure water to that of a solution is called as water potential. So it can be measured. The units of water potential is megapascals or bars. More concentration of water in the system has more kinetic energy. Please follow this statement. More concentration of water in a system has more kinetic energy or more chemical potential. So you know that each and every molecule have two types of energies, potential energy and kinetic energy. So with the help of kinetic energy only, the molecule shows a movement. So if the system or a beaker containing water, suppose 100 ml present in a beaker, so all are free molecules, water molecules, they have a high kinetic energy. So the more concentration of water molecules in a system has more kinetic energy, so that leads to the more chemical potential or water potential. Are you able to follow? So if the system containing more water molecules, it contains a more water potential. So if the system or cell or beaker containing so less concentrated solution or less concentrated water, so it contains less kinetic energy and it has a low water potential or chemical potential. So if the beaker contains only pure water, only 100%, 10% water molecule present in the beaker, that have a maximum water potential. So because it cannot mix it with any solutes, it contains only pure water present in the beaker, hence it has a maximum water potential. Or in plant cell also, if the water present in pure water, it is a maximum water potential. So the maximum water potential value is 0 because it cannot mix it with any other solid particles. So the maximum water potential is represented by psi W. Psi means PSI. The symbol is the PSI psi, and W represents the water potential. Psi W represents the water potential. So pure water has a maximum water potential. So the maximum water potential is a 0 because the water cannot mix it with any other solute. So it always moves from high water potential region to the low water potential region. Please remember that the water always moves from high water potential region or area to the low water potential region. So how can we compare the high water potential region and low water potential region? So high water potential region contains a more number of water molecules. For example, pure solvent. It has a maximum water potential. So if we add any salt or sugar to the pure water or solvent water, so that water becomes a solution, salt solution or sugar solution. So when compared to pure water, the salt solution and sugar solution contains a few number of water molecules when compared to the pure water. Because in salt solution, some of the salt molecules are dissolved in the water. Hence, 10 to 20 ml of water molecules are consumed for the dissolving salt or sugars. Hence, when compared to the water molecules in the solution and compared to the pure solvent has a maximum water molecules, maximum number of water molecules, hence it has a maximum water potential. By adding the salts or sugars to the water, pure water, it becomes a solution. So the solutions generally it contains a low number of water molecules, hence it has less chemical potential or low water potential. So it can also understand by the two types of potential values, that is the solute potential. The lowering of water potential due to addition of a solute is called as a solute potential. Please write down the definition. The lowering of water potential due to the addition of a solute is called as a solute potential. You know that the pure water has the maximum 100% of water molecules are free. If you add any solute like salt or sugar to the pure water, so automatically it becomes a solution. So the lowering of water potential due to addition of solute. If you add salt or sugars to the pure water, it becomes a solution. In the solution, water molecules are less, so automatically the water potential is decreases. That is why the lowering of water potential due to the addition of solutes like sugar and salts is called as a solute potential. It is also abbreviated as a SP. So mainly the symbol is a psi S, solute potential. So the solute potential is always negative value. It is always negative value. Next one is the pressure potential. So pressure potential is nothing but the increase of water potential due to the entry of water into a cell. The increase of water potential due to entry of water into cell. Please write down it. The increase of water potential due to the addition of water molecules into a cell is called as a pressure potential. Suppose if the water enters into the cell, so the cell becomes turgid. Turgidity. The cell with the full water is called as a turgidity. So whenever the water content is increased in the cell, so there is a pressure gradient exerted inside the cell. So the pressure created. So whenever the water molecules continuously enter into the cell, so automatically the water content is more, hence the water pressure is increased. Such pressure is called as a pressure potential. So the increase of water potential due to entry of water into a cell is called as a pressure potential. So pressure potential is always positive. Pressure potential is always positive. So the water potential of a system or a cell can be calculated by the sum of psi s plus psi p. What is psi s? solute potential. What is psi p? Pressure potential. So please remember, it is a very important topic. So the water potential can be calculated by the sum of solute potential and pressure potential. So what is water potential? The relative difference between the chemical potential of pure water to that of solution is called as a water potential. So what is solute potential? The lowering of water potential due to addition of a solute is called as a solute potential. So the solute potential is always negative and it is represented by psi s. What do you know about pressure potential? The increase in the water potential due to the entry of water into a cell is called the pressure potential. So it is represented by psi p and its value is always positive. So the water potential of a cell can be measured with the help of bars or megapascals or kilopascals. The water potential maximum value is 0. All pure solvents have the maximum chemical potential or maximum water potential. So that is the value is 0. In the solutions, any salt solution or any sugar solution or in the cell, cytoplasm or protoplasm. So because in the cell, the cytoplasm or protoplasm contains several substances, carbohydrates, proteins and fats and mineral ions are dissolved in the cytoplasm. Hence it becomes a concentrated solution in the cell. Hence the cytoplasm also more concentrated solution when compared to the pure solvent. Hence in the solutions the water potential is less when compared to the pure solvent. So the water always moves from high water potential region to the low water potential region. So if you observe that if you pour the drinking water on the table and also you can pour the sea water on the table, you can observe that which water flows very rapidly. So drinking water flows rapidly or fast because the salt water cannot show fast movement because it contains solutes, different types of salts. Okay, are you able to follow? Now it is clear. So the water always moves from high water potential region to the low water potential region. So we can also calculate the water potential of the different types of cells. I am giving the two examples. Please write down it. The values of solute potential and pressure potential of a cell A and B are given below. Find out the direction of water flow. Please write down the table. First column cell, second column solute potential, third column pressure potential, psi s and psi p. Cell A has minus 0.6 megapascals. Under psi p 0.5 megapascals. And B cell, cell B minus 0.9 megapascals and pressure potential is 0.3 megapascals. You see here the solute potential is always negative values and the pressure potential is always positive values. So you can calculate the water potential of the cell A and B and find out the direction of flow of water from which cell to the other cell. So how can you calculate the water potential? So psi W equal to psi s plus psi p. So the water potential of cell A equal to psi s plus psi p, that is equal to minus 0.6 plus 0.5 equal to minus 0.1 megapascals. So water potential of cell B is sum of psi s plus psi p. So that is the cell B has psi s value minus 0.9 and pressure potential is plus 0.3. So that is equal to minus 0.6 megapascals. So cell A has the minus 0.1 megapascals and cell B has the minus 0.6 megapascals of water potential. So which cell has the high water potential? So cell A has the high water potential because it is the 0.1. So the maximum water potential is 0 and less water potential is minus 0.1, minus 0.1, next minus 0.2, next minus 0.3. So if the negative value increases, the water potential decreases. So its negative value is B cell has a more negative value, hence it possesses a low water potential region or low water potential cell. Hence the water source movement from cell A to cell B, because cell A has the high water potential and cell B has the low water potential. Hence the water flows from cell A to cell B. Is it clear? Okay. Next, second problem, you can write it. The values of solute potential and the pressure potential of cell A and cell B are given below. Find out the direction of water flow. Please write down column 1 cell, column 2 solute potential and column 3 pressure potential. So cell A has the psi S value minus 0.5 megapascals and psi P value is the 0.1 megapascals and cell B has psi S value minus 0.8 megapascals and psi P value is the 0.6 megapascals. Now you can calculate the water potential of A cell and B cell. So the water potential equation is the psi S plus psi P. So water potential of A cell is sum of psi S plus psi B, that is minus 0.5 plus 0.1, that gives minus 0.4 megapascals. So cell B is the minus 0.8 plus 0.6, that is gives minus 0.2 megapascals. So you observe that in these two values, so which cell has the high water potential? So the B cell has the high water potential because it has the lesser negative value. So but A cell has the more negative value minus 0.4, hence it has the low water potential cell. Hence, so in these two cells and A and B cells, the water flows from B cell to A cell because the B cell has the more water potential or high water potential and A cell has the low water potential. So are you able to follow? So the water always moves from high water potential region to the low water potential region. So that is about the water potential. So what is the water potential? Anybody? Can you define? So water potential can be defined by, so the difference between the chemical potential of pure water to that of a solution is called as a water potential. So the relative difference between the chemical potential of pure water to that of a solution is called as a water potential. So the water potential concept was proposed, term was proposed by Slater and Taylor, and the water potential can be measured in megapascals or bars or kilopascals. Any doubts about these concepts? Diffusion, facilitated diffusion, active transport and water potential. Okay. So thank you very much.